Thank you for joining our session. We're here to talk about what seems to be the hottest trend in HR technology these days, talent intelligence, but it's also the most misunderstood. So we're going to share with you some of the new research that we've done at Aptitude. I'm Natalie Lorano. I'm an analyst, so I do research on HR technology. My areas of coverage are talent acquisition, talent management, employee experience. And we just did this new research project in partnership with Eightfold on talent intelligence and demystifying some of the trends and misperceptions around what talent intelligence is and what value it provides to organizations. And I'm thrilled to be here with Shabi, who's going to introduce himself.
Thanks, Madeline. So my name is Shabi Ormazabal. I lead product marketing at Eightfold, 25-year veteran of the tech industry, but also along the way, an employee, a hiring manager, someone who's worked with many different organizations on finding talent and skills. And as a marketer, I'm always at the short end of the stick, working with talent acquisition leaders who hire for 10 times more salespeople than marketing people. So the whole part about defining skills accurately and understanding the skills in your organization and what you need is a topic that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, when we first started talking about this topic, I think it was a few years ago, and one of the frustrations for me as an analyst and doing research and studying this market is that it seems that like every single provider is calling themselves a talent intelligence provider. It seems that there are all these different definitions about what talent intelligence is. And I know we really wanted to kind of put a stake in the ground and define talent intelligence and then understand the value. We saw, if you're going around the Expo floor, when we did our research and just researching different HR technology providers, there are over 100 providers that use talent intelligence in their marketing slogans. And we could probably name about 5 that actually do true talent intelligence. So we're going to talk about 2 different things here in 2 different categories. We're going to talk about why talent intelligence is so important today, how we need to understand the value of talent intelligence. We're going to help to define what talent intelligence is for organizations. And then we're going to look at how companies are using talent intelligence to see results. We'll look at some of the use cases. We'll look at the power of skills. We'll look at how AI is impacting talent intelligence. You can't really talk about talent intelligence without talking about skills, without talking about AI. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some strategies for success. But before we even get into the research, let's just get something out of the way. Talent intelligence, is it a passing trend or is it here to stay?
So I definitely think it's something that has staying power. It's something that organizations struggle with a lot, understanding what skills they have within their organizations. We'll talk a little bit about that in terms of more detail. And at the heart of it, you can definitely see a difference, and the study shows, between organizations that have a concerted effort on talent intelligence. The way, once they understand their talent more effectively, they can make better decisions. They can acquire the talent that they need. They can be more flexible in whether they hire, whether they bring on contractors, whether they use internal mobility to fill the needs that they have. So I definitely think whether it is expressed exactly in the term talent intelligence, the need is real. And I think we see it a lot to our customers and prospects.
Absolutely. And just to give you some context to this research project and why we believe it's so important and not just a passing trend, is we do a lot of surveys at Aptitude. And what we find is that we typically get a lot of HR executives to respond to the surveys at the director level and above. And when we get CHROs to respond, if we get 30 responses, that's a really good survey. If we get 30 CHROs to respond to our surveys, that's a great survey response and a great way to look at the CHRO response. For this study, calling it talent intelligence and putting out an explanation of what this study was going to accomplish, we had over 100 CHROs participate in this study. So it's definitely being driven from HR leadership. We're seeing that this is, again, something that can fuel transformation and can fuel how companies think about the future of work. So let's define, before we kind of look at some of these results, what talent intelligence is and then what talent intelligence is not. For me, I'll start with what talent intelligence is. And I see it really as a compass or a GPS. It's helping companies use data to be able to draw insights. And it's using the power of AI, it's using the power of skills to be able to provide a complete picture of the workforce. And we're going to talk a little bit during the presentation about the difference between systems of record, which really collect data, use data, and then systems of intelligence, which give you insights to be able to understand what's happening in your workforce in a more holistic and complete way. So anything you'd add to that, Chabi, like what you think talent intelligence is?
No, I think you nailed it. It's really just kind of having that more pervasive, expansive understanding of your talent, and not just at a point in time. And we often talk about how sometimes you know more about your employee on day one than on day 365, because companies are so laser focused on the talent acquisition side of the house and hiring on this is the skills we need. This is where we need to get that talent or that person from. This is why we hired them. But then a year or two in, you forget, what has that person contributed? What are the things that they've learned along the way? So that is a fundamental problem. I think that with a talent intelligence approach, you get so much more value out of the potential of your employees and driving your organization forward.
Yeah, it's always looking at talent and saying, I see you for who you are, your full experiences, and the potential and the learnability that you bring to the organization. But what talent intelligence is not, and I think this is really important as you're walking around the Expo floor today and tomorrow, is talent intelligence is not just any system out there that collects and analyzes data. It is not just any technology that has access to data. It is not an ATS. It is not an LMS. It is not a point solution or just a disparate solution. It is actually a full platform that, again, draws those insights to be able to help you get a more complete picture of your workforce. It's a foundational layer of HR technology. So it's interesting because talent intelligence has become this big trend, and we're seeing this talked about all the time. Again, you're going to see this all over the conference. You're going to see this all over the Expo. And what's driving a lot of this discussion around talent intelligence is the conversations around skills, the conversations around AI. And you can see what we found here is that companies have really changed their whole makeup of their organization. They're eliminating roles, they're creating new roles. And, I think what stands out to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts too, is the 90% here of companies that have really looked at, creating new roles within their organization.
Absolutely. I think that's something that comes up a lot with talent acquisition leaders, where they're suddenly tasked with finding a purple unicorn. I want someone with this kind of skill set. We've never had it before. And that sort of handshake between the hiring manager and the recruiter is so critical. I was just with a major retailer a few weeks ago, and they were talking about how they had a new role, which was really kind of the intersection of someone who had a lot of knowledge of real estate, the ideal location for new establishments for their company, and also understanding foot traffic, the type of buyer, et cetera. And it was the kind of role that they had never hired for before. So the TA leader said, we get these every month. You need something new from the strategy from this. How do we keep pace with that? So I think that's a real need companies have in defining the roles that they have and the needs for the future.
Yeah, and you've experienced it even as, an executive on the marketing team, and seeing kind of how marketing's evolved, that there are new roles that seem to be created all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. And, the marketing world in B2B tech or in many other areas has demand generation, people who know market strategy, people who do events, people who are experts in launching digital campaigns, people who know SEO, people who know product marketing and messaging. So there's such a plethora of skills just in my world that I'm aware of, and translating that to the person who's going to help you build that short list and start the hiring process, it's not easy unless you have the tools to make you successful.
Yeah. So a lot of change across a lot of different areas of the business affecting every single industry, and skills is driving a lot of these conversations around talent intelligence. So this is probably my favorite slide that we're going to share today, because we did the survey, we asked the question, are you interested, are you investing, are you increasing your investment in talent intelligence? And 72% of companies, and remember 100 of these responses are coming from CHROs, said that they're increasing their investment in talent intelligence this year. Yet then we asked a question, do you understand what talent intelligence is? And only 28% of companies actually understand and are sure what talent intelligence is. And then only 27% of companies can actually identify the providers that play in this space. And I think that's not just a fault of the lack of awareness. I think we as analysts can do better jobs of explaining talent intelligence, but I think it's a lot of the vendor community that have gone out and used talent